Hello, everybody. I'm Columbia County Manager Scott Johnson. Just really wanted to come to you to give you an update on debris in Columbia County. I know that's still an issue that's on everybody's mind, and didn't want the year to end without us coming back and kind of letting you know exactly where we are. Now, I will say that our public relations team, I believe, has done a really good job of putting out information about debris and where the county is. And folks, there's so many rules and regulations and so many unanswered questions. I really just wanted to take an opportunity to give you a high-level view of what we're doing as it relates to debris before this year ends. As you know, we started picking up debris after Hurricane Helene struck our county. We started that process on October the 3rd. And when we started the process, we started with 4 trucks and 1 debris site. Now, obviously, with 4 trucks and 1 debris site, we're not going to get a whole lot done. We realized that, but we wanted to go ahead and get the ball rolling as quickly as we could. As we ramped up, our contractor got up to around 40 trucks. We were hauling debris much more rapidly, and they were averaging about 20,000 cubic yards a day. We did that for, I guess, probably the majority of the time we've been picking up debris. And 20,000 cubic yards of debris a day is actually pretty good, but not when you're in a situation like we have in Columbia County where we have so much on the ground. We knew we had to do better. Now, I know a lot of you have asked. We've heard from some citizens that, Columbia County's not doing a good job, and can you tell us the plan, and why can't you tell us, a schedule and some of those things. Folks, it's just simply not that simple. We have a plan that we're working through, but we're also working with a contractor that's independent of Columbia County. So a lot of the things that we were able to do, we were able to make suggestions to that contractor to maybe help with efficiency, but we didn't dictate the process. These are not Columbia County's trucks, and at the end of the day, the biggest thing in our minds is making sure that we get everything cleaned up for our residents, but that we get reimbursed. And I'm going to talk to you about numbers in just a few minutes as to how much this is really going to cost and why that's so important to do that. So we talked about 20,000 cubic yards a day. I'm very happy to report now that we're averaging over 47,000 cubic yards a day, and those 4 trucks that we started with and 1 debris site has now grown into 145 trucks hauling debris to 12 different sites all over the county. So I think we're doing a pretty good job there. As of today, we picked up a little more than 2 million cubic yards of debris. Now let's put that in perspective. Some of you lived in Columbia County in 2014 when we had the ice storm. To date, that was probably the biggest event that ever happened to us as far as picking up debris. In 2014, Columbia County picked up 569,000 cubic yards of debris, and we did that in 62 days. So that was pretty good at that time to be able to get that amount of debris. We were reimbursed a little over $12 million from the federal government for doing that. We had all of our contracts in place, we had all of our ducks in a row, and we learned from that. We learned that we needed to make sure that we had all those things in place if it ever happened to us again. And boy, did it happen to us again. Obviously with Helene, it's a lot more debris, but we had every contract in place. We were ready to go. And like I mentioned, we were picking up debris just days after the storm hit and have been continuously ever since. Let's go back. 2014, 569,000 cubic yards in 62 days. This time we picked up over 1 million cubic yards in our first 60 days. That just goes to show you that I think we're doing it faster, we're doing it better, and we've been able to pick up over 2 million cubic yards in our first 80 days. So those are significant numbers and significant impact to the folks in Columbia County. Now, I want to give you just a little bit of a comparison because we're working with Ceres, who's a nationwide contractor, and they're very good at what they do. These guys do a great job. Debris Tech is the monitoring company, so there's multiple layers as to how we go about doing this. But we were talking to one of the Ceres representatives the other day, and he made a comment to me that was striking, and I want to make sure that I pass it on to you. He mentioned to us that the most that his company has ever done in the first 90 days of any contract they've ever worked was 800,000 cubic yards of debris. 800,000 cubic yards, the most they've ever done in 90 days. And here we are, 80 days in Columbia County, and we picked up 2 million cubic yards. But we have a long way to go. So how do we do that? Well, we did that with the help of our staff. I just can't give enough kudos to engineering services, our county engineer, that entire team, our GIS, everybody working in IT. We have gone above and beyond to come up with heat maps to help designate zones that these trucks could work in, to really just show them, I guess, the Columbia County way of doing it, with the understanding that Ceres is still the expert. They still get to do it kind of the way that they want to do it. But we were having problems. We were having problems with roads not getting picked up completely. And we heard from you. And we said, okay, we've got to do a better job of picking up the entire road once we get started. So I think we've done a much better job of doing that. And as a result, I think what we're picking up, the numbers have gone up exponentially. So we're trying to do things much more efficiently. We're now measuring output. We're having weekly meetings. We are giving the contractor feedback. The contractor is giving us feedback. It's truly a partnership working with the contractor. And at the end of the day, probably the most important part of all this is doing it the right way, because when you start talking about how much money is at stake here, it's a significant number. So what's next? Well, we have about 4 million cubic yards still on the ground. If you ride around Columbia County, and I rode around today looking at debris areas and sites, and I see that some places have not even been hit yet. And I know some of you are saying, you've not even been to my road yet. We're 80 days in or over 80 days in, and you haven't even touched my road. We're going to get there. We're going to make sure that we touch every single road, over 300 centerline miles of road in Columbia County. We're going to make sure that we touch every one of those. Most of these trucks are averaging between 6 and 7 loads a day. So if you do the math, even 145 trucks picking up 6 times a day, you can see that it's going to take us a long time to get that 300 miles of roadway. I'm going to tell you, because you've been asking for this, and I don't want the hate mail, and I don't want the social media fallout, but I'm just going to, as I always am as your county manager, I'm going to be as honest with you as I can. It is our goal to touch every road in Columbia County by the end of February. We're going to do our very best to touch every road one time by the end of February. We've talked about passes, 1 pass, 2 passes. Some of you have had things picked up, but you still have root balls and you still have large trees and those sort of things. We have to have different equipment to pick that up. That's going to be done on what we're kind of calling the second pass, but that will happen after the 1st of February. After the end of February. So we're working hard that as a goal. We're going to try to hit that, and then what's next? We have to come back and pick up again all the big stuff. It's going to be our goal to have that done by the 1st of April. Now, again, there's no guarantees. Lots of things could happen. We could lose trucks. Another event could happen. I mean, there's so many things that could come into play here. But I wanted to just give you some sort of idea and hope as to what we're trying to do to make sure that we have all this picked up. Let's talk about the money that's at stake here. So far, I have authorized, with the Commission's blessing, $50 million to pick up debris in Columbia County. Now, that's a lot of money, and Columbia County does not have an extra $50 million laying around. We're going to expect reimbursement from the federal government. That's why it's so important that we do this the exact right way, where we can only pick up in certain areas. We can only pick up on public right-of-ways. The FEMA guideline books on this are volumes of books. They're huge amounts of rules and regulations. And I know some of you are a little frustrated because you may have heard a commissioner say, well, we'll make sure we get yours. And then the staff came back and said, oh, no, we can't get that. We've got conflicting information from our FEMA representatives, but they're working with us hand in hand now to make sure that we can get all this debris and get reimbursed for it. But we're on the hook already for $50 million. Folks, that's not going to be enough. I really think this event's probably going to cost the taxpayers in Columbia County more like $100 or $120 million. That's 10 times more than what we saw in 2014 in the ice storm. So we have to make sure that we're doing everything perfectly according to the rules, to the guidelines, dotting every I, crossing every T, because we can't put our taxpayers in Columbia County on the hook for $100 million. we have to do what we can to make sure that we get this reimbursement from the federal government. So we're working really, really hard to do that. To date, we have not gotten a single penny back. We've actually filed for expedited funding, and we've not gotten any money back from the federal government yet, but we are assured that that's coming soon. So for now, we're okay, but I want to just report to our folks in Columbia County that this is a process, and we need to be extremely careful as to how we go about that process. I know we have debris fatigue. I have debris fatigue. I know we're all tired of looking at it. The hurricane is long gone. We've forgotten about how tough that was. A lot of us have, and being without power for so many days. Nobody really cared about the debris when our power was out and our stores were closed and you couldn't go to an ATM machine, and you know, the debris wasn't a big deal then. Well, now that we're back to life pretty much normal, everybody's concerned about it. I know everybody wants it gone. We're going to do our best to make sure that we get it gone. The timeline has been extended. Some of you have already found out about that. We did have 90 days to get this done. That has been extended to 180 days, with our funding period to be 120 of those 180 days. And we don't know exactly what those 120 days are yet, but we're going to work hard to make sure that we get the biggest bang for the buck. At the end of the day, Columbia County still is going to be responsible for some of this money. So we want to make sure that we're good stewards of your tax dollars and make sure that we can get everything done that needs to be done, but at the same time, get as much money back as we can from the federal government, because I think that's just extremely important. So I think that as we continue to pick up, you're going to see the trucks around. We are getting into the Christmas season now, into the holidays. I'm going to report to you that our trucks are going to be taking a break. These trucks have been working 7 days a week since this event started. We're going to take about a 10-day period where you're not going to see very many trucks on the road. That's going to give you an opportunity to get out and shop and hopefully not get stuck behind one of these trucks and those sort of things. It's going to give them an opportunity to spend time with their families. Many of these people are from out of town. They are human. They are working hard too. But I just don't think we can expect them just to work nonstop. So there will be a little bit of a break. We're going to pick up right after the first of the year with just as many trucks as we can get in Columbia County picking up that debris. But we're not going to stop the grinding. If you go by our debris sites, you will see that our debris sites are going to continue to work through the holidays every day, making sure that we are grinding this material, because when the trucks do come back at the beginning of January, they're going to need a place to take this other 4 million cubic yards of debris that's still on the ground. They're going to have a place to take that. If you go by any of our debris sites, you'll see that many of them are full. So this is going to give us a chance to kind of catch up, get rid of some of the big pieces, get it into the chips, haul some of the chips away. Many of you have asked, why can't you give the mulch away? Folks, this mulch is no good. And FEMA regulations and guidelines don't allow us to give it away or sell it. So again, we're just following the rules to make sure that we don't put the Columbia County taxpayers at risk for paying more than they need to pay. Just letting you know that we're going to continue to work as hard as we can to get the debris off the road. I really wanted to give you this really before the holidays, just so everyone would have kind of an idea about where we were, and maybe this answers some of your questions. Our commissioners have done an outstanding job of communicating this to their constituents. Again, I think our public relations team has done a good job. So Columbia County is doing what we can to take care of cleaning up really the largest single natural disaster this county has ever faced. So we're going to continue to work hard for you. My wish for you is that you all have a very Merry Christmas. I hope you have a very prosperous New Year. We're going to continue to work hard for you. We use that catchphrase, stay Columbia County strong, and we're going to ask you to do that and continue to work with us as we do everything we can to get this county back in the shape that you expect and that we all deserve. Take care.